My name's Scooter. I'm the third assistant director on the Miss Fisher Murder Mysteries. One of my jobs is to look after and coordinate the extras on set, getting them ready in the morning, dressed, made up if they need to go for a haircut, and then once they're on set, and I set them in according to the main action. So we look at a rehearsal with the main action, and then we populate the room, the back of the shots with our extras. We are doing a bit of a dockside protest here. So Mr. Waddington is a man who's in his office and he is refusing to bargain. He's refusing to come out. He's refusing to even talk to you guys. You guys are angry. You have got to be very aware of the scene and what's happening within the scene. Quite often there's specific plot information being given that's meant to be secret. You have to be careful. You don't want to put an extra behind someone as they're imparting crucial information that no one's supposed to hear. We try and be aware of the main action, listen to the dialogue, and also not setting in stuff that's going to be distracting to the main actors. So you've got to find that balance between making the room look full but also making it look real. And sometimes when you're shooting it out of sequence, it doesn't feel real, but when it cuts together it actually looks more real than it felt on the day.
It's lovely to actually get to explore a different era and see what it was like back in the 20s. You feel very glamorous with all the hair and makeup and hats.
Because it's a show that's set in 1928, the extras have to have a very unique look, and that not just comes down to costume and hair and makeup, but also how they look, because people with long hair, no go, people with tattoos, no go. So every person that appears on camera is seen before they come in on the day for costume and makeup. Every outfit had to be fitted, from shoes, pants, tops, and because it's a very specific look, it's quite often suits. It's not just a jacket and a pair of pants. And so if you have someone pull out at the last minute, it's not as simple on a contemporary show. You can just go, oh, who else have you got? Everyone's been fitted pre-shoot day. And a lot of the extras were just excited to be involved in the show because they'd read the book and they were fans of the style of the show. To have our own unique murder mystery show with a strong female lead character is very rare in this country. And the extras played a very big role in selling the look of the show and selling the style of the show, I think.
It's great. I love dress-ups.
It's been very exciting for me because it's the first time I've ever done this. So
really? First day?
Yes.
And I've done it for 31 years.
There's a particular party scene that appears a major part of episode 12. It's a big fancy dress party, and we had about somewhere between 30 to 50 extras, and they were all dressed in these amazing fancy dress outfits. And it was quite incredible to see all of this detail in not just the costume but the look, the hairs, the wigs, the costumes. I've never seen anything like it on an Australian television schedule or budget, that we've been allowed to just go nuts on this sort of look. They were just incredible. You just go, wow, I can't believe I'm standing here in the ballroom at Rip and Lee and it's full of people that are just dressed like this, and you're going, I want to go to a party like that. I want to throw my own fancy dress party.
As the Director of Photography on Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, I had discussed the look with both producers and set-up director Tony Tills. I presented a lot of reference material as a visual cue. Films like Coen Brothers films, television series like Boardwalk Empire and things like that all had elements in them that I thought would work for Phryne. The look is striking, and I think Essie looks beautiful. And, we maximised the locations.
Is there anything from that camera position past Essie to the boys?
We did extensive tests on some materials and the look and the colour and their association with the set. So what Essie Davis would be wearing as Phryne Fisher in this set or that set, and the colours and tones and the reflections of that and the relationship to her makeup and her look is pretty much right across every department of the show, apart from the departments that he runs, which are the gripsmen, which are responsible for the safety and movement of the camera, and then the electrical department with doing all the lighting, and you've got might have a half a dozen or more people in a camera department that all need to be coordinated. As part of the creative team, you get involved in colour options for makeup. There might be considerations for actors and their skin colour and a style blood, what colour is the blood going to be, and lipstick, the colour of lipstick's very important. If you've got anything on your leading lady's face, that all has to be a consideration. It's shade, colour, darkness, depth, foundations, all sorts of things. It was a show filled with many highlights because of the nature of each episode was different. Phryne enters a world and as a viewing audience you go in and you see whether it's the cocaine trade and jazz music or whether it's subversive communist activities. Each of the 13 episodes had a thrilling element, which was the freshness of going to a new world. So we had an episode set against the wonderful world of a circus, and we had the whole circus to play with. We recreated Chinatown in the back of a warehouse. The lighting and the camera and where the camera sits is all very important element of all those things, and that was one of the exciting things for me with the series, was having different palettes to work with and different environments.
Makeup designer. There was never any problem about Phryne Fisher's look. Kerry Greenwood did the most wonderful job of describing her. The sleek black bob, alabaster skin, remarkable eyes, ox blood lips, which I have to say is a little bit difficult to keep on when there's enthusiastic kissing involved with her many lovers. Every episode takes us different places. So there's lots of things we can go into in the 1920s, whether it's the dapper side or the bohemians, wonderful, places like the circus as well, and the theatre. So there's lots of places we can draw on. We've been working closely with costume the whole way through. Marion's been really wonderful, given us a great place to be as well. They gave us great shots of the extras with their costumes on, and then we can put hair pieces and ideas together, so when our auditionals come through, all the research is in front of them.
That's all right, isn't it? Oh, are you serious?
In the 1920s, they were just starting to explore a shorter hairstyle, mainly to do with the hats and the coats and everything. So it was a practical solution for hairstyles to the way they were wearing their clothes. So everything goes hand in hand with costume. And Phryne's out there, she's, a step above everyone, and she's got her hair cut in a nice little bob. She's not a stitched up kind of girl. She swings her hair around as well as her arms and legs. She climbs. She doesn't need to be restricted by her look. As soon as I read the brief, it was something I want to watch, somebody's given me my dream job.
Done at least 150 outfits for Essie. It's an enormous amount of work. It's great fun. I mean, we get to sort of design hats and dye feathers to go with every outfit. It's actually an amazing sort of jigsaw that goes together. The 20s was a time of extreme excess in a lot of ways. They lived a lot with gay abandon, and that's always reflected in the clothing, especially the women's clothing.
We need to establish right up front who wears the trousers in this arrangement.
Good morning, Inspector. Constable. What a pleasant surprise.
You have to start getting the essence of a character, and so you start immersing yourself in literature. You start reading about it. You have to go back into their life. The reference really to Phryne is that she's a woman in perpetual motion, and I always wanted the pieces to move with her, because she's always moving from scene to scene to scene, from environment. Because she's a woman detective, she encompasses an enormous amount of worlds. I wanted her movement to continually sort of waft in and out of things, and that's part of the 20s, that sort of sumptuous elegance.
I do approve of a man who can fight and still maintain his sartorial elegance.
Men's clothing from the 20s, 30s and 40s was intensely flattering on males. We've become Larry Low pant, but they were Harry High, and it's really incredibly flattering, and it really creates a really beautiful triangle. They just look terrifically handsome. I mean, we all look at pictures and films of, Cary Grant and Gregory Peck and stuff from that period, and we go, man, they're handsome. And that's that's the style. Incredibly beautiful period in lots of ways. They used to use a lot of buttons and stuff to weight fabric to actually get the drape. There wasn't a lot of cloth around. It cost an enormous amount of money. So they were ingenious the way they actually pieced things together. And they designed whole outfits. So everything from the shoes to the colour of the pantyhose to the underwear to the hats to the feathers to the coats. So they're whole ensembles. We use a lot of original pieces. We use a lot of original buckles, shoes, original feathers, furs. Fabrics today, they're not as fine, they're not as exotic, they're not as embellished as fabrics were in those days. So we've been using a lot of things like really beautiful Indian saris to actually get the texture.
They're beautiful, aren't they? Look at the heels.
And over the years, you end up collecting an enormous amount. You find that sometimes the most bizarre thing, and on a job somewhere, somehow, you end up going, I know, that button I bought 25 years ago, that will be perfect.
My name's Scott Zero from Cromer Media, and we provide all the visual effects for Miss Fisher's murder mysteries. As we've come down on set and work hand in hand with our department to sort of say, okay, well, everything to there we can dress, but everything behind or in the middle distance we'll do digitally. A lot of the time the effects that we do aren't necessarily scripted things. Like sometimes they'll say, oh, we need a specific thing to happen, which we know is going to be an augmentation or an effect. A lot of our requirements are things like health and safety, art department, logistics and things like that, which of course save time on set or safety concerns. In the first episode, we have Franny arriving in Melbourne, and in the book she comes off an ocean liner, and of course the first conversation is, well, we're not going to be able to have an ocean liner, so let's move on. And it was like, well, hang on, this is what we're talking about. Let's see how we can make this happen, because those are big ticket items. They take a long time to do, and they're technical. But again, it's always about just finding that balance between what the production can do and then what we can do after.
Travelling light again. There must be some advantage to the sea voyage. Otherwise, I would have joined the Aberraries.
There's a shot of Franny on the banks of the Yarra, and behind, during the shoot, there's just a wall of modern detail. But we've been encouraging, no, shoot against that, because we need the bridge, we need the Yarra. And then we'll go in and we'll paint out everything, being able to bring Melbourne back to the way it actually did look in the 20s. And the fantastic thing is that we're all from Melbourne. So, of course, when the brief is, can we bring our beloved city back to how it used to look, is actually fantastic. And, of course, we poured into books and photographs and all sorts of references, and then try and match as best we can with them. We've been able to do things with elements which are just too dangerous to throw around on set. And one of these would be, in one episode we've got a hatchet. On set we'll have the actor do the action, duck around with the prop, and usually art department come in and they'll go and they'll place the prop in place for us, and then we'll kind of reverse all that out.
That's it. And action.
It's great just being able to sit back and watch so much of it looking so great.
Read several of Kerry's books and tried to get a feel for how she is interpreting things. I was aware that Kerry was into detail, and I was going to try and match that on screen as much as possible. Franny's mansion set has to match the location, which is the National Trust house, but people actually live in the house and they can't change it. So we've got to accept that basically the house as it is on the outside. I've designed the sets to match the layout of the house. Our sets are probably a little bit bigger to allow for a little bit more camera movement, etc. Designed them all with colours and with the personality of the character in mind too. Franny wouldn't come and live in a Victorian house as it was at that time. She would sort of bring her influences from Paris and London, where she sort of spent those last 10 years of her life. 1928 in Australia, of course, is a fair bit behind the rest of the world. So you'll find that, like even today, people are living in Victorian houses and Edwardian houses. So there's all that to build on for a 1928 period. In fact, there's probably very little 1928 look or products around at that stage in Australia.
Red cordial and apple juice.
That's probably one of the nicest things about the show, and the challenge for us, because every episode has got a different flavour about it. We've gone back to Chinatown and tried to recreate early sections of that, and the eastern markets, from the docks to the mansions to the back lanes, and a lot of colour and change of environments. It's not a documentary, it's an entertainment series, and we can afford to be slightly theatrical. It certainly is a team thing. There's no way you could do it without it. I'm the lucky one. I get to draw it and give them lists and things like that, and a few plans, and they all go off and find wonderful things. This is the first production I've actually worked on where eBay has played a big part of my life. And while I'm working my drawing board on the next set, I'll have them come up to me and say, look, this is what I've come up with. The set dressing and decoration and the detail that location-wise, and make sure that everything's right. A lot of actually those things which look like they've been there forever, actually in fact we've created. You don't realise exactly how much goes into the actual prop side of it. Every episode it's got special props. Martin, the props guy, he had to find a music box because in the storyline they get poisoned by the fumes. But it's finding those sort of things, or adapting something, or sometimes we draw something up and we get a props maker to actually make things from scratch. Phryne's luggage when she first arrived. We thought it could be Louis Vuitton style in that period, very expensive luggage. Those particular trunks were $20,000 each. So I got my props maker to make it. We selected the fabrics and we just made all the trunks and boxes up ourselves, and they looked like $1 million.
He's hit the milk truck here and then driven over the bollard here.
We've got special covers that we put over electric light fittings and meters and things like barrels. And we go up to a modern lane and cover all the roller doors and all those sort of things with fences, signs, whatever we need to make it look right, you know.
So much of our television and our films really are still are set in that contemporary setting. The reasons are it's quite easy to shoot. You can walk into someone's house and it's all there. You can walk on the street and you can film people on the street. It doesn't matter what you see because it's all contemporary. When you're sort of going into this period stuff, everything has to be designed from the ground up. No location is just walk in and shoot. Even the historic period houses. We're now in an age of occupational health and safety, so there's exit signs, there's handrails, there's all this stuff. It makes it very difficult to do period, and I think because of that we haven't done it because it's it can be quite expensive. That's what makes it unique. The looks and the fashion and the hats and all that is actually quite luxurious and quite glamorous. It has a kind of interesting contemporary thing about it as well. I think that's where the exciting thing about this period stuff is working really well. I mean, that was always a big attraction for me with this story, was this very contemporary modern woman in a kind of period setting. Post-World War I, when everyone was quite traumatised by the events that happened. And there was also this kind of awakening and freedom that all of a sudden everyone just wanted to go out and go, life's short, let's go and enjoy it. And it really was anything goes and quite risque.
Definitely cocaine. I'm the doctor. Just to make sure.
We had the advantage, I guess, with Phryne was that it was based on a series of books, the vibe and the energy of those books, and so it was trying to kind of capture that and yet still put it in the contemporary TV setting. So you do a lot of research, look at a lot of imagery from the period. Does this sort of suit this film? No, it doesn't. Yes, this is a sort of the tones, the textures, all that stuff. When you go into a kind of period setting or a period film, there's a temptation to go very serious with it, like not serious but quite well spoken, and they can kind of go quite staid and stodgy, and so you've got to kind of keep that loose.
Why do you think you can just run off on your own?
Because I'm carrying a gun.
Phryne!
Some things will suit quite a naturalistic performance set in that period, and some needs to be heightened. Now, Phryne is very much a heightened version of the 20s. We're not sort of doing gritty 1920s, we're doing top-end glamour, the fun, it's a romp. You need to kind of make sure you keep the fun and essence of that.
What happened to you? Too much champagne with lunch.
For me, it was Essie's natural sense of fun that was really important to bring to Phryne, but she's got some quite a nice serious background. I think that's important, but it's also the wonderful sense of humour that Essie has.
The art department has done a beautiful job. The bed is perfect. The decor is gorgeous. And every single detail is correct. It's the sort of thing where I think, did I write that? No, I didn't write that. Yes, I did. I did write that, and it's there. Yeah, it's surprising. I love the bath. It's a perfect shape, the right kind of thing. The deco screen is perfect. And there is something extremely charming, and it's very Phryne.
Well, I remember. Careful with the hand luggage. My pistol's in there somewhere and it may still be loaded.
Of course, miss.
It's a lovely mixture of things that you inherited from someone or picked up because you liked them, and stuff that is strictly contemporary. Like the love seat is definitely an inheritance, whereas the dressing table, the fireplace surround and the screen are exactly contemporary. They're perfect. It's perfect. This is precisely the colour I imagined these walls was aquamarine. Phryne has a silver dress, which I just saw the actress wearing, which will look beautiful against the aquamarine to make sure she doesn't disappear into it. The fireplace again is a perfect deco fireplace, as is the surround. There are the statutory beautiful nude ladies gilt nude ladies in this one rather than silver nude ladies. I find the shape of the room to be perfect. All of the little bibelots, the little thingies, are perfect. The smoker's friend is here with its space for matches. I am so impressed that someone should go to all this trouble. I also very much appreciate the carved horns, the history of England, the pretties, and someone has found a copy of Inside the Criminal Mind, which is actually mentioned in the book and has been out of print since 1938. I'm impressed. Clarice Clift, she was working for Wedgwood as a painter, and they thought that she did such original designs that she should do some of her own. And they became extremely famous, but at the time that Phryne was interested in them, she was just starting to take off. This is a beautiful room naturally it has the statutory Tiffany, but the chairs are right, and the table is a lovely inlaid table. Even the Countess crockery is perfect 1928. Now, this kitchen is a spiffy piece of work because it has a genuine American refrigerating machine, which as you see, it's got a huge condenser, very dangerous, very frightful, and ate electricity, but it did keep things cold. Here is the proper fireplace surround. This oven was made in 1926. I have one myself. It cooks very good bread. And over here are all the proper 1920s things, including a thing called a chinois, which is a fine hair sieve. Absolutely perfect. Plus the right taps, the gumption polish, which is the best way to polish things. And this is I don't know where anyone found this. This is Watkins Essences, which are all your colourings and essence and your vanilla essence and all that sort of stuff. This is a beautiful piece of reconstruction, which I am so impressed with. These books have been optioned since they were written. I've never trusted anyone to make the kind of commitment that was necessary to really recreate 1928, not just a general roaring 20s, but 1928, and allow me to meddle sufficiently in what is basically a work of my heart until I met Deb and Fiona and saw what they'd previously done. I instantly trusted them. They were willing to allow me to read the scripts and make suggestions, and they came and showed me the auditions for the character of Phryne, because she's the most important.
These are dangerous questions.
My favourite kind.
I just saw her walk into a room and she's got the understated arrogance that Phryne has to have. Phryne is a female hero. She isn't an ordinary mortal. I really love Phryne. I love the whole sets of characters. They are all very close to my heart. They're all my children. So I consequently was not going to let anyone near it unless I trusted them.
Why do you think you could just run off on your own?
Because I'm carrying a gun.
Phryne!
They called it the Roaring Twenties, but it was much more brittle. The Great War, they thought, was the war to end all wars, and it was really the end of that kind of unquestioning obedience to duty, because duty got you killed. They started letting women into the professions in the late 20s. They did all these things that previously hadn't been allowed to do, and they found out that actually they were very good at it. It was possible for Phryne to be as bold as she is without being a social outcast. If she'd been like she is before the First World War, she would not have been socially acceptable.
I don't know what my priest will think of your guns and knives and dancing.
I want someone like James Bond, but much better dressed and with fewer product endorsements and a better taste in lovers. I want a female hero. It's almost exactly as I wrote it. It's a very peculiar feeling. The voices are correct. Nobody says, okay, nobody says, I'll check. There are no wrong words. The vocabulary is terribly important if you want to convey a historical message. The costumes are fantastic. The set is perfect. There is nothing in it that isn't 1928 or before. And it's not only accuracy, it's the chemistry between the actors, the voltage of that unresolved relationship. It's fast, it's funny, and I just don't remember writing it that well.
wonderful thing about Phryne is the series is, and the books, is it's a delightful world. There's a lot of fun, a little bit of sexual tension, the wit, the charm of the characters, but it's also set against the backdrop of real social issues of that time.
I wasn't interested in doing something orthodox. I wasn't interested in replicating the Miss Marples and the Poirots because the UK do them so well. So we wanted something that had a bit more playfulness in it, a bit more attitude. Once we dipped into those books, then we realised that there was this gem of a character in there with these fantastic one-liners.
Do you have your gun, miss? Not in this dress.
With Phryne, we had it all. We had the murder mystery, we had a strong female character, and we had beautiful costumes and a few cocktails thrown in. We thought this was a winning combination.
The difference between Phryne Fisher and other crime is that it's really about the ensemble, about the characters, and it's also about a woman who's unconventional and out of her time.
She's quite modern in her take of feminism. You know, she is a very strong female character and she has a great sense of justice.
The beauty of doing drama with a playful spin on it is that if it's not laugh out loud funny, it's okay, you haven't failed. But it's also that life is playful.
It's always complicated with you.
For me, it feels a much more natural mix of reflecting life on the screen and to be able to escape from that playful, sort of tongue-in-cheek look at the world into quite moving, serious issues, because despite the beautiful frocks and the cocktails and all the wonderful escapist elements of Phryne, she is trying to change the world so that you feel like it's not just about the puzzle, it's not just about the crime solving, you're watching it for much more than that.
That's one problem, this.
Isn't she glorious, Inspector?
So in 1923, Hispano-Suiza, they made this model from about 1919 in France. Hispano-Suiza means Spanish-Swiss, which is a bit peculiar with France being the place of manufacture, but early on they were made in Spain with a designer who was Swiss. This was a supercar of the 1920s. When it came to Paris Salon in 1919, it must have been like the Bugatti Veyron of the show. Very fast, terrific brakes, terrific steering, absolutely the best money could buy. King Alfonso of Spain was a great enthusiast of Hispano-Suizas, but the royalty, the rich film stars, it's not uncommon to see them in use in Hollywood. As well as the general magnificence of it, the way it looks, etc., it is beautifully engineered. And I was actually working on one with a friend in 1988, and I just fell in love with the engineering of it.
Could it be a tactical error to think you had me pegged? Just yet, Miss Fisher.
I'm very glad to hear it.
What's fine on a beautiful day, we were filming down at the docks. It was cold and it was at night and it was hard to get the car warm enough to run properly. Well, she's handled it remarkably well. She's a very confident young lady and it's quite a task. I mean, she's small and it's a big, heavy car. I think she's got a lot of determination and she just did it, and she really doesn't have much of a problem in driving it. She doesn't even have a licence for a manual transmission. These cars have a crash gearbox. They don't have synchromesh, so you've got to time your gear changes or it goes crash. Guy bought it about 1990, but it was just a heap of rusty bits. And it took me 12 years to put it together. As it happens to be only one of two in Australia that's going, I think they were very lucky to find a red one.
And action!
Jim Murdy and Steve Lumsden. Steve's the fireman, I'm the driver for the day.
We've bought the train here today to shoot a few scenes for a TV series.
We're both stationed at Castlemaine Malden Goldfields Railway. We're both volunteers. Originally we started this morning to start it up. Steve started before I did, 4 hours to start her up. He'd been here last night to keep it going, so it's still warm for us this morning. So we had a head start on it and get it ready for the road and prepare the train for the trip down here and back.
Cut. K-Class 280 locomotive built by the Newport Workshops in Williamstown.
Basically worked all over the state. There wouldn't be any lines that hadn't worked on. Oh, I would have done close to 1 million miles, and it's a lot.
The scenery has vastly improved, and we haven't even left the station.
The fireman provides the steam necessary to keep our lake A going. The steam and the water, without him, we're buggered. We can't go anywhere. But he watches what I'm doing and I watch what he's doing. I can't belt the locomotive out of further than how he's firing it. And if he's doing a good job, we can probably go a bit harder.
You have your good days and bad. It can be a challenge, depending on the coal and the loco, and won't steam, bad coal, priming, water.
Bad driver.
She's just this fantastic, witty, incredibly independent, capable woman who is extremely wealthy but has come from great poverty, so she understands an enormous cross-section of humanity, and she's seen the worst of the worst working through the war as an ambulance officer. She's learnt amazing skills and can speak many languages, drive a sports car and fly an aeroplane and throw a dagger and shoot a gun, tango, and pretty adept at most things.
Then we get the cake.
I have to say the action part of it has been my favourite part. She's an incredibly intellectual and witty and dialogue-driven character, but at the same time, when I get to run across a rooftop or fly an aeroplane or do speed driving in my Hispano Suiza, I love it. It's just so much fun. The locations have been fantastic. We've been to amazing places, and when I think back, there's been lots of incredibly beautiful historic homes and National Trust buildings and the Windsor Hotel, which are all ornate and amazing and really special. But then we've spent a week up in Castlemaine and on the steam train.
How does it compare with Kilimanjaro, Miss Fisher?
Phryne and Jack have this wonderful clashing of spirits, but total attraction to each other. I guess he always thinks that Phryne shouldn't be meddling in police work.
Hello, Inspector. How was your journey?
As uneventful as yours will be. Back to your compartment. Thank you, Miss Fisher.
Kerry's written this hedonistic lady who loves clothes and is always immaculately dressed with, you know, the beautiful fur, velvet coats and all this incredible cockfighting, which is my favourite.
I'd describe Jack Robinson as, well, if we start off with his background, he started in the police force young, grew up in Richmond, working class family, and got married young. When he was drafted into the war, he became a lance corporal and spent time in Europe. And then he came back and went back into the police force, and of course at that time, in 1923, a massive police strike in Melbourne, massive rioting, and a lot of those guys lost their jobs. I've had my fair share of strike action.
What, the police strike of 23?
Shoulder to shoulder. A lot of good men lost their jobs. He kept his job, so he was one of the lucky ones. He had a sense of guilt for keeping his job when so many lost their jobs and their livelihoods because he had an affinity with the working class. It was such a hard job because, I mean, really, you were getting paid very little for a risky job and a hard job.
Go around the back way, Collins. Be careful. There might be children around.
His wife, she's gone abroad. She's gone back to her family in England. She couldn't really deal with the way that this man had changed post-war. I think this guy genuinely would have loved to start a family. A little bit of that sadness in there, I guess, because, you know, he's companionless.
Stood. I thought it was Mr. Lynn who was joining you for supper tonight.
Never mind, Mr. Butler. Perhaps a little more light on the situation, but I'm sure the Inspector and I will cope.
The evolution between Phryne and Jack, at first they miss a lot. Then I think, you know, they both have to submit. Whether or not it's love, who knows? But it is an enduring relationship, obviously. Gradually, they have opportunities to get that a little bit closer.
You're blushing.
I'm a grown man, Miss Fisher. I'm not likely to blush at the sight of little bare flesh. Stepping into that world, it's pretty crazy because you might be doing one take where you're shooting at someone and they call action, and when you look around, you've got these beautiful old 20s cars and everyone decked out in in great suits and hats. I mean, what a wonderful time, what a wonderful fashion. Where now, if you're wearing a hat, it's almost like you're trying too hard, whereas it was just standard then. I love that, and I wish I could just, you know. In fact, I will. After this, I'm going to get around in a suit more often.
I play Dot Williams, who is, in the scheme of the series, Phryne's maid and comes to be her very loyal companion. She is very astute, which is a characteristic that Phryne comes to really value when they're solving their murder investigations. She's really sweet, but at the same time she's got a core of steel. She becomes a housemaid because, according to her mum, factory work isn't for nice girls. Dot grew up in Collingwood with her family and was brought up as a very conservative Catholic. Phryne's character also grew up in Collingwood. I definitely think that's a point of connection for the two characters because they grew up in similar circumstances.
I'm not back by midnight. You might need to call the police.
On the telephone?
I'm afraid so. Cheerio.
I think the relationship between Dot and Hugh is explored in terms of their religion, and that proves to be a point of friction. Perhaps you could send Mr. Collins some kind of sign. You know? To let him know you're Catholic. It really does place it in the period of the 1920s. At first, they both have very traditional ideas about what their relationship should be, despite their differences in religious beliefs. But then, over the course of the series, Dot kind of becomes empowered by Phryne's power, and so that challenges their partnership a little bit. Miss Phryne, sorry, Hugh is a birthday gift.
For our walks.
How romantic.
To be playing a character that's so well known and well loved, it's so exciting, and it's such an honour and a privilege to be able to do that, but at the same time it's so frightening because I really want to be able to satisfy the preconceptions of all the fans. But I think we've all kind of come to recognise that this is a completely new medium, and by default that means it needs to have its own life.
The best way to describe Hugh is he tries to be all things to all people, and a lot of the time he fails miserably. He's a very kind, good-natured guy who really wants to make something of himself in the force. He's very much trying to follow in Jack's footsteps. He sees Jack as an incredibly intelligent, sharp guy who he loved to be, who was a lot like his father.
Oh, and well done, Collins.
Thank you, sir. He was brought up in a very traditional family where his dad went out, made the money, came home to a meal cooked by his wife, and I think that's what he sees in Dot, a very traditional 1920s Australian kind of family.
Would you do me the honour of accompanying me to the firemen and policemen's ball?
No. I mean, yes. But no, I'm supposed to ask you. But when Phryne comes along, kind of knocks him out of the park a bit because he doesn't really know what to do when Dot starts to really become self-confident and a woman herself. His mind frame of this traditional upbringing needs to change through Phryne because Phryne's taken Dot under her wing.
Not bad for a Catholic.
If I met Phryne today, I'd do anything she said. She's sexy and she's funny and she's witty and I think Hugh really, really likes her. Miss Fisher, please, if you could stand as still as possible, that would be much appreciated. Thank you. Steady, and 1, 2. It's escapism. It's great for audiences. They get to be transported to this fantastical world where anything's possible.
Which one of you wants to inspect me?